All right. And then I'm going to start sharing my screen. So there we go. All right. So by now, hopefully you have found and know and pretty familiar with the UKI page, in particular the UKI US Open and US Open Documents page. This is the most critical page for now through the event. This is where you're going to find everything you need for the event as we move forward. So if you don't have this bookmarked, I definitely recommend bookmarking it because as we get into the event, this is where you're going to be able to find if you have questions about the rules or how many people or how many dogs they're taking, like cuts and stuff like that. This is where you can go. Course maps will be here, briefings will be here, running orders will be here, results will be here. So this is a good page to save on your phone. There's like a button for live results that will go through the GAC app as well that you should already have downloaded to your phone. If you don't, highly recommend that. Also get on making sure you have Agility Gate, because that will make some of this a lot easier too, because we'll be using Agility Gate through the event. That's what this is as well. So in particular, I want to make sure we talk about the main reason we're here, which is the schedule and the itinerary. So there are two key documents that you need. The schedule is really important, and so is your group itinerary. If you haven't found your group yet, there is this group list here. If you click on group list, you're taken to this document. The first part of the document is everybody in alphabetical order who is attending. And as you scroll down, if you really are curious about who's in your group, once you get to the bottom of the alphabet, it starts with group order. So like this is group A and everybody in group A in alphabetical order, then group B, and so on. So if you didn't find that document or you didn't know to keep scrolling past your name and just to find out who else is in your group, that's always fun to look at too. So you can find maybe somebody in common that you can ask questions with or buddy up with throughout the event. But this is, if you haven't found your group yet, this is super important. Without your group letter, it's very difficult to move forward. And then obviously your dog's jump height is pretty critical, which I imagine you know at this point. I get rid of this bar. Okay. So back to the documents page. So then once you know your group, we're going to go to ring plans. So schedule and group itinerary. So they're really important that you have both. The schedule is so you know what rings you're going to be in. The group itinerary is going to help you look at what times you're going to be in those. So what I like to do is I first pull up my group itinerary. We're going to do with group A just because that's easy. So I print this out, or you can split screen, but I start by printing this document out before I even look at the schedule because I find it really helpful to have this document printed so I can highlight and make my notes on it. So what I do is I print a copy of this document here for my group. And you'll see that the beginning of the day is pretty generic, and then usually the end of the day is generic. It's all this stuff in the middle that you need to be concerned about. So once I have this document here, then I'm going to look at the schedule. So we'll start with the schedule here. It just goes in day order. It is important to read this document in its entirety. There are some, little things in here that Greg puts that are important. The biggest one is competition rotation times are estimates. They can start earlier. Contrary to some other events, I know those of us who were at Sinosport this past week, I think even like CPE Nationals, where they say the start times are the start times, they will not start earlier. They might start later, but they will not start earlier. Due to the nature of this event and the size of this event, Greg will start rotations earlier if all the rings are done. The key is all the rings will be done. This event, all the rings rotate together. So if one ring is running behind, the entire rotation will wait for all the rings to be done. So you don't have to worry about if you're in one ring, another ring starting before you can get there. The entire rotation will move together. The GAC app, the GAC app, as you see here, again, that's where you'll get text message notifications on rotation start times. Usually you get about 10 to 15 minutes notice if we are starting earlier. So right here, you say the next rotation will start 10 minutes after the last dog runs. So usually Greg knows, there's 5 dogs left in a ring, and he'll send out an announcement, hey, this time, this group rotation is starting earlier. This is the time that rotation 2 or 3 is starting. So the number on your rotations is really important. And that's where going back to this and understanding that these are rotation numbers, and those are important, not just ring numbers. There are whiteboards at each of the rings that also have this information as well. And you'll hear Greg reference whiteboards a lot because each ring has a whiteboard that does say the times the rings will be starting. So that is important as well. If you're not on your ring at the right time, you do forfeit your run. So that is important as well. All right, so this sheet, if you've never seen this sheet before, it can be a little overwhelming, but all of them look the same once you get into the nitty gritty. So this is appears just like the generic kind of information for the day. And then we get into the actual schedule. The top of the sheet tells you what time the doors open, what time you can expect course maps. So if you just want to go get it off your phone, this is when they are posted to the Agility Gate or the website. Or if you want a paper copy, doors open at 6:30, you can get in line and get a paper copy starting at 6:35 on this day. And then course walking is noted here. So class rotations for course walking. This is where I think people get confused. Some of this is just, it's a lot of text on how he's going to rotate the rings. I find it's just easier to kind of skip over this and look at the squares below. So what is important here is knowing your group and knowing your dog's jump height. So again, if you just looked at this and you're in group A, you're like, wow, I'm walking in all 6 rings, but you're not. These are based on jump height. So this is why you need both documents. So you keep this document open and you look at this document and you find your jump height. So I like to highlight on here my dog's jump height. So my dog jumps 16. So I'll look across all the US Open agilities because I know I'm entered in that class, and I will highlight 16. So 16 here is my highlight. So that means ring 3. So then I go to this document and I say ring 3 and I highlight that one. That is my ring for my US Open agility. I don't have to worry about ring 1 or ring 2 if I only have a 16-inch dog. If you have a dog in multiple jump heights, you can have fun with color-coded pens and markers or whatever, and highlight your 16-inch dog in one color and your 12-inch dog in another color, and then same thing here. So then you walk your 12-inch dog, looks like it walks in ring 1. So then you need to know your 12-inch dog, you're walking in ring 1. Then you don't need to walk in ring 2 because you don't have a dog in that jump height. And then you need to walk in ring 3. This is why it's important to have both documents. It makes a lot more sense when you have both documents open. So then speed stakes round 1, if you're entered in speed stakes round 1, you repeat this. So I look for, first thing I do is I look for my heights. Okay, my dog is in ring 6. That is important to me because I'm a 16-inch jumping dog. And then again, I will go back to here and look at ring 6 and highlight. I will walk in ring 6 at 7:45. So if I only have one dog, this is really, really simple. If I got 2 dogs, it gets a little bit more complicated, and the more dogs you add, the more complexity it is. But it's really not that bad when you break it down this way. So I just do this as one dog at a time. You can also look at the rotations here and be like, I'm a 16-inch dog. I know I'm in group A, so I'm in the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rotation. And then I could look up here and see group, the 6th rotation walks at 7:45. And the 6th rotation starts at 2:45. But I find it easier just to bounce back to this document. So use this document to find what ring you are assigned to based on jump height, and then use your group itinerary that is posted here to find out what times you need to be in those rings. So I hope that makes sense. So then you just continue this for the rest of the runs for anything that's group specific. There are things like Wednesday night, there is Nationals round 1 jumping. There is no groups. This is strictly by jump height. So all the 16s and 16Ss and 20Ss are in ring 1, regardless of your group. So there will be announcements on what time course walking will begin. And it's just one giant course walk for 30 minutes. And then there'll be a start time after that walkthrough. So that will all be announced at the time of the event. So that will be something you want to keep an eye on the app for announcements for that. So then we go to Thursday and we just repeat the same thing. So I'm looking at the Thursday schedule. Thursday's a little bit more complicated because on Wednesday there was only 2 classes, US Open Agility and Speed Stakes. On Thursday, I now have to look at 3 classes, and this is where things start to get a little dicey this year. It's a little bit different than years past. Because, for instance, right here on biathlon jumping, if you look very closely, there is no 20-inch jump height on Thursday. The 20-inch biathlon jumping is occurring on Friday. This is to make sure we're balancing the dogs and getting everyone done before it gets dark. And this is the plan that Greg has come up with to make sure we're maximizing our daylight. And that's super important this time of year. So if you get to Thursday and you're like, crap, or any event, you're like, crap, I can't find my jump height in something, keep looking. It might be on a later date. And so it is really important to look for that. But so let's say you didn't enter snooker. So like, okay, well, I don't care about looking for my jump heights in that, but I did enter biathlon. So I'm going to look for my jump heights in biathlon. If you did or did not enter last chance master jumping, same thing here. And then the evening for this is a finals course. So, pay attention to the prize giving if you think you've won any prizes. And then if you've made finals, which the run order for finals will be published the night before or the morning before, depending on how late things go. So you'll know if you have to stick around for finals. And then your walk times and run times for finals are here. And if you're not in finals and you want to check it out on 4-Legged Flicks, this is how you know what time you need to be done eating dinner. And get back and come back and watch these events if that's something you want to do. There is time estimates for that as well. Again, so this just keeps repeating. So you just do the same thing every day to figure out what rings you're in and what times you need to be at. If you have something marked as free, that means you don't need to walk during that time and you're not running during that time. That is when they do highly encourage everyone to volunteer, because every rotation gets 1 free rotation, aside from the fact that you also probably have a few other free rotations, but unless you have a dog like in every jump height. So like I mentioned before, if you have 1 dog, you might be in 3 and 6. That means you also have 1, 2, 4, 5, and then this last one free. So they really hope that we can step in and volunteer to do things, bar setting, leash running, scribing, timing, all of those things, gating. The more volunteers we have, obviously, the smoother these events go. And sometimes you get a really good advantage. For instance, if you want a bar set during snooker, because you run it at the end of the day, you'll get a really, really good view on how the snooker course is running, and you can, have time to make your plans. So it is good to keep an eye on your schedule, and then there will be a volunteer schedule. Usually it's sent out as a Google document that you can kind of fill in your schedule. You can also use this to fill in any massage schedule that you have as well, that you want to start planning for ahead of time. A few other notes, aside from the evening stuff. Sunday, there's just a bunch of notes here. The biggest thing is Sunday is for challengers in the morning. It's all 4 rings. They will split the rings by height based on how many dogs enter challengers. And then you will run in your assigned ring. And then the rest of the day is just a 1-ring show. It's in the main building, main ring. And all those times will just be TBD as we get going. Again, you'll be looking for announcements through the app. There's another instance, round 2 agility. Because they don't know how many dogs are going to get through round 1, they don't have the height split yet. So that says, as noted here, this will be announced on Thursday because they don't know They're going to try to put as close to 310 dogs per ring, but they got to figure out what the height split's going to be based on the results from round one. If the course is pretty simple and a lot of dogs get through versus if the course is very challenging and not as many dogs get through. So that's another just little note here, TBD. So that's my high level explanation about how to make sense of these two documents. I really hope that helps kind of digest it. Some of the text here does get very texty, and I just, with the times and things, it's just easier to use his timetables that he has here. I'm also working on a website app I should have out tomorrow where you can select a drop down, pick your group, and it will give you a whole digital copy of everything that you're in. So hopefully I have that out and ready to go tomorrow. I'm just trying to finish up the last bit of coding I need to get that published, as we just got this information today. So I'm trying to get that all programmed in so I can have that available for you guys. So that's my high level, very quick summary. I hope that helps explain things. If you have any questions, now's a great time. We can go over your specific group if you want, or your jump height. I'm happy to pull up the documents if you need additional support. So feel free to unmute yourself if you have any questions.
I have a question from a friend.
Sure.
It looks like there are some days that have a scheduled lunch and some that don't. Is that?
What do you mean?
If you look at like the group itinerary, like Wednesday has a 10 to 20-minute lunch break, but Thursday does not.
Right. It's likely he's not planning for a lunch. Like these are the days we really got to push, it looks like.
Okay.
It might just be he's already baked it into the timeline. I would just stick to whatever these ring times are to start. That's what they're gonna be, and I wouldn't worry too much about those little details.
Yep. Thanks.
So, yeah.
You also have some questions in the chat.
See if I can pull that up. I do see that. Okay. For the group walkthroughs, do all heights. So, like, if this is your group, ring 1, 4, 8, 8S, 12, 20, 22. So they're all walking together at 6:45 for that 8 minutes of walking, and then you have 4 minutes to get to the next ring. So yeah, everybody in that group is walking together. So everyone in this group is walking together, and you can see how many dogs that's estimated. Doesn't mean how many handlers there are. So some of these do get more crowded than others. Like if somebody in your group happens to have like 5 dogs, obviously that's 5 handlers potentially that another group may have. But it is this walk ring 1 is all of these heights. So all the handlers in that will walk together in that 8 minutes of walking. And then again, you have 4 minutes. So you don't feel like you have to cheat yourself. Your walkthroughs, if you have back-to-back walkthroughs, like if you need to walk ring 1 and then ring 2, you have 4 minutes to get from ring 1 to ring 2, which is generally enough time unless you're going from rings 1 or 2 out to rings 5 or 6, because that can be a little bit of a hike.
No, that's excellent. I was kind of looking at it like I have 2 20-inch dogs. I'm groupie, and then I signed up to have a friend to walk with. That's a 16-inch dog groupie because we got placed together, but we're not really gonna walk together, basically.
Correct. Yeah. So that's the downside of this event. With the new way he used to do it differently, where multiple heights were in multiple rings, and it just created a lot more confusion. In this way, it does make it more challenging to be with a friend if they're not in the same jump height. You are never going to, I mean, you're almost never going to run with them especially if you're a 20-inch and your friend is a non-20, because the 20s are almost always by themselves because they're the biggest class. So, you need to walk in your walkthrough. Obviously you can talk and stuff in between and talk at the railing on things, but That is unfortunate way of how this
It's
event
okay.
works. Yeah,
Because the rings are never set perfectly symmetrically the same anyway. So
yes,
the distances and everything change a touch.
correct.
Because so it's
Which
okay.
is why he's done it this way. Because in the past he would do, he tried to keep people together a little bit more, but then 20s would be in both like rings 1 and 2, and that's not fair to the 20-inch class to be split up into rings amongst 2 rings because they are built differently. So the
Right.
way he has it running now is the most fair way to make sure everybody in your jump height that you're competing against is running the exact same course.
Right. You've done a great job. I want to say thank you. I know how much work this takes. I couldn't possibly do what you're doing. And when you last year was my first year at US Open, but you've made this so much easier, and thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm so glad
Thank
people
you.
find this helpful.
No, it's excellent. You've done an amazing job. It's like an act of, I don't know, like giving. Thank you.
You're welcome. Quick question about challengers. Everyone's in challengers if you entered master, or if you entered nationals, and it's in the premium. Hold on. That's why we always go back to the premium. It's got all the rules. Challengers round. The class is made up of dogs who entered round 1 or 2 and did not progress to the finals. So as long as you entered any of the national class, you will be in challengers. Unless you made it to finals, then you don't need to be in challengers because you're already in finals. And then the winner of challengers will get a spot in finals. But some people choose not to run it also because they just kind of want to peace out and leave, which is perfectly okay too. It's just it's just a way that everyone can enjoy the last day of the event and still get a run every single day. So it's kind of like a nice little gift from Greg. Since you spent your money to be there, might as well get an extra run out of it. Any
Stephanie.
other questions? Yeah. Hi, Sherry.
Hey, I just wondered, and I'm sure they're probably not going to be, if I miss my walkthrough, then I can jump in on another walkthrough. Right?
Yes, they're going to obviously discourage that. But you can't
Right.
change your run. So if if you forgot what time you got to the wrong ring, or just make sure you're walking in the right ring. As we just were talking about, they're not built identically. So if you missed your walkthrough in ring 1, don't just hop in ring 2 in this case, because it's not
Correct.
going to be built the same. Make sure you walk the correct ring. But yeah, I mean, they're going to encourage everyone to walk during their walkthrough times just to make sure that it's as fair as possible for the number of people. Obviously, things happen and people make decisions to walk at different times, and there's nobody policing it. That's for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm I'm being really OCD on this. I've already got my schedule done. So I'm like, I'm ready. I'll be there walking. 6:45 is going to be really early in the morning for me, period. But
start getting up early now. You can start early. You can start training your body now. I feel bad for the
and
West
I just
Coast
want to say
people.
Oh God. So yay,
Yeah.
Thank you. I agree too. Thanks for doing this. And
all right, any other questions?
It is overwhelming,
I know.
seeing like all this text and you're like, oh my God, where do I gotta be? But I really do like that they do separate, like I'm in group E. So Pam, I'll be with you. And I like how they have that one page where it's much easier, and I highlighted those and then made my schedule. So
yeah, it's hard with one without the other, and that's why I like to explain. It can be overwhelming because you print this and you're like, why? I am walking in all these rings, and oh my gosh, you don't have that many walks. So it is. They're still working on better ways to communicate this. This is how he's done it for years. So at least those of us who have gone before, we're very familiar with this format and can help explain it pretty easily to new people. But yeah, the text is a little heavy sometimes, so it's just easier to just look at the chart.
Yeah, and it looks like for me, like I might not even be running on Friday at all. If I don't
Depends on what you
advance.
entered. Yeah. I know
I
like,
entered everything except for I didn't do the master heat because I am in the finals.
so
So I
on
didn't enter that.
Friday, then so you don't know if you're in round 2 yet, right?
Correct. It'll be
And
nice.
right, so that would be your only chance to run, it looks like, because the winner takes all jumping for you is on Saturday.
Yeah, they moved it.
Yeah, so you
So-
have 3 runs on Saturday versus a lot of people who only have 2 runs on Saturday. Well, not a lot. Some heights have 2 runs on Saturdays, and clearly some heights have 3. So they try their best to keep everybody active and doing something every day, but I guess, yeah, they can't guarantee it if you're not making it through the rounds or if you did enter last chance or something. But this is the first year they've split up classes like this. So I understand why. It's just very different because I'm just so not used to any classes being split. It's very, very, very different. But we all adjust to changes, and the event will still run just as smooth. It's just got to change the mindset a little bit because it's just a little different than what we're all used to.
Yeah, and then on Saturday, if you entered biathlon, then that's in the evening.
Only if you make it through jumping. So that's biathlon agility is a cut. So not everyone runs
Okay.
biathlon agility. You're guaranteed biathlon jumping. But if you E in biathlon
Okay.
jumping, you will not be in biathlon agility. And then there is a cut. So sometimes
okay.
only clear rounds go through. Sometimes you can get through with a fault, just depends on the course. But you definitely can't go through with an E. That's for sure.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, everything in the evening is a cut except for Nationals round 1 on Wednesday. This is the only evening class that anyone who entered that round 1 is definitely playing in. And you cannot play in it if you already round 2. Round 1 is just for people who did not earn the round 2 bye. You cannot preemptive, like you can't add that in. And then everything else, like speed stakes finals, there's a cut. Gamblers in the evening, there's a cut for snooker. Biathlon agility, there is a cut. So all the evening classes, I always tell people, put them on your schedule, plan on it, because if you don't, you got to manifest that stuff. So manifest it by putting it on your schedule and planning to run on it. Don't plan to go out for dinner with your friends. Plan on being in the finals, and you will have a much better chance of being in them if you do that.
Okay. You should be my coach.
I'm all about that manifesting. Go ahead and do it. It's worth it.
I manifested that biathlon, so I know how to do that.
Any other questions? It looks like everything is small to tall all week, which is definitely different as well. He used to mix up running orders, but this is the height order the rings are running in too. So it's not just those aren't just the heights in the class. This is the height order of the class. So everything's running small to tall, it looks like, for all the rings. So that is also important to know. So if you're the 16-inch jump height, you plan to be at that ring, especially if you're the first dog and in your rotation, be there right when time starts. If you're like a 24-inch dog out of these 4 heights, you can be there not quite as you can, you'll be able to time it out once we get the run order. And agility gate, you can always put your marker dogs in an agility gate, which is super helpful. So you can pick a dog, several dogs way ahead of you and mark them and get notified when you need to go to the ring if you are not that first jump height. If you're that first jump height, I'd get there plenty on time.
When do they put out the next part, the run in order, so like how many dogs?
I think it's after the 7th. I think there's a pull. I think the pull deadline is either the 10th or the 7th for people to pull for injuries or and then also announce if they have bitches and seasons run in order for this event. They just get highlighted red. I think it's just there's a poll deadline that they wait to publish the run order after the poll deadline.
Oh, okay.
So it's like the 7th or 10th or something like that. Oh, the app I'm making is like a website. I can kind of give you a preview. It's gonna, I mean, just another way to inform people on what their schedule is if it's gonna load. So you'll go in here and you'll just pick your group and your height, and like this is A4S, A B
Stephanie, I don't think we
8S.
can see it.
Oh crap! Yeah, you're right, because I'm not sharing the right tab, which is actually easier. Thank you. New share. This. Okay. Okay. So it's like a website-based app. You'll have your days on here, and you'll pick your group and your jump height. So like D8, and it will tell you what rings you're in and your walk times and run times. And then it will have the evening schedules programmed in that are hard coded. So just finishing this up. I got to get the rest of the stuff programmed in, but just so that you can have something quick to confirm, or if the schedule is still overwhelming, to look at. This will hopefully simplify things even more. So just another way. I know everyone learns and sees things differently, so I just like to make sure everyone with every different learning style has the ability to comprehend their schedule. So just one other thing to add to the ways to view the schedule. And then if you don't have the GAC app, make sure you download that. GAC app. It might be on here as a link. I know GAC systems. Yeah, that's probably the website. If you're on just any device, go to the App Store and just like look up the GAC. It should be like a white, like at least on an iPhone, it is a white icon, GAC mobile. It's got the little UKI dog jumping, this little logo. It doesn't have the full UKI, but it's got this little dog on it. And it says GAC systems. It's really important you download that, because that is really like, that's how all the information for the event comes to you. So when rings are moving up, that is the first place you will be notified if the ring times are changing. So that is a super important app. And then when you get into it, you can pick if you want notifications for what events, and make sure you turn on US Open. And then they just started sending messages. They will be sending messages ahead of the event. And if you're not getting them or getting notifications, then you can start playing with your notifications. But definitely make sure your notifications are turned on for that, because it's super important. Anything else? Awesome. Well, thanks for those of you who joined live. Like I said, I will get this recording up. Feel free to share it with whoever, if there's still people who have questions that you know, and I will post it in the group as well. So
Thank you.
you're welcome.
You're good at